welcomes you to the Chuckles. I'm in danger. 250 can possibly go to the outside. He does go to the outside. Ricky Harden tries a slide draft him. Harden goes up the track. Now back down to the bottom. Gets a huge push from Tommy Ryan at the start finish. It's going to be Thomas George.
Running the high line, trying to make that
got
pass.
loose off turn 4.
In the grass goes the 6 car, and they were side by side, 2 by 2 here.
Scott Eckler winning the last race of the season and the championship.
Jeff Ford definitely getting the championship for season 2.
Give it up for Thomas George, winning the race and the championship. George overshoots the corner. Scott puts that car just where he needs to on the middle. It's going to be a drag race through the kick. Motor Speedway to now in corn country. Hello and welcome to Iowa Speedway. Austin Belke, J.R. Shepard, Kenny Kibbe. As always, our director Ryan Seneker in the production trailer. And folks, it's time for the final round of Season 5 of the Pretty Good Racing League's Premier Series. With Michael Krobach entering tonight barely ahead of Jeff Ward in the points championship, it's time to put everything on the line and see who comes out on top. Hello and welcome to the Mars Properties Vacation Rentals 175 from Iowa Speedway. JR, what else can you tell us about Iowa?
Austin, Iowa Speedway is a 7/8 mile D-shaped oval where the track layout was heavily influenced by past NASCAR great Rusty Wallace. This speedway has turns that are banked 12 degrees on the low side all the way up to 14 degrees on the high side of the track. That progressive banking gives the drivers options to run several different lines around this place and increases those passing opportunities. Even so, this track is very tough, especially on cold tires. The bottom lane through turns 1 and 2 is very bumpy on entry, and again, right as you start to get back on the throttle, the drivers will have to maintain good throttle control to keep the car underneath them through there tonight. Also, the exit of turn 2, the banking completely drops away, meaning the inside car usually has to lift to avoid making contact with the outside car because of the dreaded push. That will be an area to watch all night long. And then in turn 3 and 4, well, you can pretty much run anywhere you want to, all the way from the bottom all the way up to the top and make good time around this track. But the bottom line, Austin, this place was designed to put on great side-by-side racing and provide opportunities for those drivers to make passes. We are definitely in a great place to end the season here tonight.
Thanks, JR. Tonight's Mahan Speed Laboratories You Finish Last Pole Award winner would be Dee D'Ambiosi. However, I don't see her in the Discord just yet, so hopefully we can catch her later in the race. But for now, we'll go ahead and talk to Kenny Kibbe with his keys to the race.
Yeah, guys, so tonight we'll have 5 sets of tires sitting in the pits for these drivers, and they might become valuable at some point. 75 or about an 80 lap tank of fuel, 85 or 80 lap run on a tank of fuel, easy for me to say. So at least 2 pit stops tonight. The keys to the race tonight, searching for grip. There's a lot of different ways to run both of the corners here at Iowa, so you'll see drivers move up, move down, diamond corners, be very creative on how they run this track in order to make up time. Also, avoid dirty air. That's kind of a talk every single week with these Cup cars. You want to just, like what I've said time and time again, run where the other drivers are not in order to make passes. Luckily, you can do that here and make good time. And also, we talk about it quite often as well. With these shorter fields, probably going to have some green flag pit stops, so a tricky pit road entry. You have a wide apron here, but a very harsh transition off the racing surface onto the apron, so we'll have to watch for drivers to see if they can make up some time on those pit stops, but they very well can lose time as well.
Thanks, Kenny. Time currently running out in terms of what's left in practice. Checkered flag is in the air, about 7 seconds before we go to look at that. Before we go ahead and run through your starting order for tonight's race, Ryan, let's get a look at the current points championship just to give the folks at home a good idea of just how close it is. from Michael Krobach to trailing Jeff Ward in the points championship. And folks, it is indeed going to come down between those two drivers. So far, Michael Krobach has a 14-point lead over Jeff Ward, and pretty much a good rule of thumb, one position equals 1 point. There is some stage points available in the middle of the race, and anything can happen. With that being said, you can take a look further down the point standings on your own. We'll go ahead and check back in with these point standings later in the race. But for now, we'll go ahead and run through the starting grid. Only 10 cars on the grid for tonight's race. Brian Greenlee starts on the pole. He's going to have Zach Olson starting to his outside in the second position. Woody Mahan is going to roll off in the third spot, followed by Brian Yazik, who starts in fourth. Mark Cohen in the number 8 car is going to round out the top 5 starting spots, with Gael Brooks starting in the 6th position to his outside. Michael Krobach, championship points leader heading into tonight's race, starts in the 7th position with his championship rival Jeff Ward in the 8th spot. Mike Rasmus is going to start at 9th, followed by Scott Eckridge, who starts at 10th, rounding out the top 10 starting positions. As always, the entire grid for the Pretty Good Racing League's Premier Series is set by a complete inversion of the finishing results from the previous week, and then it's all the drivers that are here this week and were not last week, capped off by the drivers who are the 2 championship defending winners so far. That's Thomas George and Scott Eckridge. Once again, Thomas George not here for tonight. All eyes now go to the iRacing pace car, who should make the hard left turn down pit road this time by, in which case we'll get ready to go green flag racing here. Lights are out, but it looks like he's going to stay out on track for another lap.
And one thing that might be a factor here early on is the sunlight, especially going down through turn 3 and 4 as the sun goes down. It's an evening race, but the sun is still visible at the moment.
Yeah, can he talk about, too, as someone who races with the HDR, high dynamic range, what that can do driving into the sunset for a driver, because it is completely blinding, just like as if you were driving somewhere in real life.
Yeah, if you have HDR on, which is a graphics setting, which a lot of drivers probably do, you're going to get those realistic sun rays shooting right down in your face, just like you would in real life. But you don't have a visor to just put down in front of you like in a commuter vehicle, so you just have to deal with that impaired vision, at least for the good portion of the beginning of this race.
Thanks, Kenny. Drivers now heading through Iowa turn number 3. We should this time by see the iRacing pace car make the hard left turn down pit road, at which point he'll be given the green flag to start racing underway here at the Mars Properties Vacation Rentals 175 from Iowa Speedway. Brian Greenlee all over the front end of this race. He's got a huge lead as they now go into turns 1 and 2. Look at Woody Mahan, though, on the bottom of that number 84 car.
Yeah, Woody looking to get a good run going here tonight to get next season moving in his favor. He's had a little bit of a rough season, a lot of bad luck, but he's definitely had some good runs. Looking to continue that here tonight.
Look at Brian Yazik challenging Woody Mahan up on the high side. He's going to clear himself and now duck down low underneath Brian Greenlee for the lead as they head into turn number 1. And indeed, he is going to clear himself. And look at Jeff Ward all the way on the bottom of the racetrack as well.
Yeah, and the one thing that I've just liked about that, we just saw Brian Yazik and Jeff Ward both go to the bottom in 1 and 2. That is difficult to do because of the bumps down there, but they made it work with ease passing cars.
Oh, Scott Eckridge a little bit there. Clowns on the left, Jokers to the right. He had Brian Greenlee to the outside, Woody Mahan down to the inside. Mahan came up just a little bit, kind of pinched Scott Eckridge off. Like the veteran move, though, out of that 70 car. He just cracked the throttle, will hop back in line. Past Woody on the outside in turns 1 and 2, and now looks down to the inside of Brian Greenlee, the 38 car, in turn number 3.
Yeah, in this short field, we see Brian get a little bit loose off of turn 4 there, but this short field, it definitely is allowing the championship contenders and those guys that we normally see racing for the wins to be able to move up quickly. So they're looking to charge right now, and right now they're chasing Brian Yazik.
Guys, we did just have a spin off of turn 4. We're looking at it on screen, a replay. Zach Olson got loose off of turn 4, did a good job keeping it pointed away from the wall and rejoins the racing surface, but loses all of his track position.
And JR, real quickly, let's talk the fans through a race here, I should say a lap at Iowa Speedway, because this place is kind of hard to figure out if you've never ran here or perhaps never watched a race here in real life. The NASCAR Xfinity Series used to come here for multiple years up until about 2019. And in the last couple of years, we've seen the IndyCar Series come here. In fact, this is one of the places they have the double headers now, thanks to High V.
Yeah, absolutely. IndyCars definitely run here on a regular basis, and that, you know, it produces the same type of racing that we see in stock cars. You are able to go side by side, and the big thing is you're able to search for clean air. You have the progressive banking that you can use from the bottom at 12 degrees all the way to the top at 14 degrees. The drivers have options here, so no matter which series is running here, you can run wherever, and it's a place that drives, you know, it's almost 1 mile in length. It's 7/8 of a mile, but it drives very, very similar to a small short track. So it really puts the driver back in control. You can make a difference here as a driver if your car's not handling properly.
Two-wide battle for the lead here between Jeff Ward and the number 9 car, and then the number 55 machine of Brian Yazik. See Jeff Ward back down to the inside of Brian Yazik in the 55. And folks, you really want to be on the bottom, maybe one lane up off the bottom in turns 1 and 2, and then in turns 3 and 4, when the tires are fresh, you're going to see drivers all the way down to the inside, just hugging, painting that yellow line right next to the apron. And then the tires wear off more and more when the race goes on. You'll see the drivers get closer and closer to the outside wall. And JR, this place puts on one heck of a show, especially in stock cars and Indy cars. You and I had a 5-lap battle for the win here in the Truck Series race of a BRL competition a couple seasons ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, like I said, this track gives you options, but that does not mean a sure thing for making a pass. We're watching the lead here. Jeff Ward has been on the inside of Brian Yazik, and he's getting loose off of turn 4. That is a common thing that we see. Running the bottom through 1 and 2, you'll tend to get tight on corner exit off of 2. You'll tend to get loose on corner exit off of turn 4. So you're constantly battling those differences and trying to adjust your driving style each time you go into the corner. You have options, but it is difficult to make a pass when you're running somebody that's fast.
Certainly is. Look at Scott Eckridge now in the 3rd position. He's been there for quite a while. And how about Michael Krobach, the championship points leader heading into tonight? Currently sits in the 4th position. And basically, folks, all he needs to do is just keep that number 9 car in his windshield, and the championship should be his. 14 points is quite a lot of positions to overcome, even with the stage points. So all Krobach needs to do for now is just run a smooth, clean, smart race.
Yeah, and you know, the one thing that Jeff Ward, obviously he's trying to gain all the points that he can on Michael Krobach tonight. The one thing Jeff Ward wants to do is go up there and lead a lap, because that is a bonus point, and he wants to make sure that Michael Krobach does not lead any laps tonight. And if Jeff Ward were to get that lap led and go on to lead the most laps, there would be an additional 3 points in there. So there's things that Jeff Ward knows that he has to do tonight, and that's why he was working Brian Yazik over so hard a few minutes ago.
See now Michael Krobach down to the inside of Scott Eckridge in the golden 70 machine. Krobach right now not quite close enough to get that spotter's call of one driver being to the outside, but he's just going to continue to work him over. And Krobach as well, one of the better drivers at conserving his tires. And JR, this is one place you want to make sure you've still got those fresh fuel goods underneath your car at the end of a run. Oh, Krobach actually hits Scott Eckridge going to the corner, starts to spin him out, and instead tries to right him. Oh, Scott Eckridge is going to slide into the outside wall. That should be a caution. Indeed it is.
Yeah, definitely. We see the two cars get together going into one. This is one thing that I kind of talked about earlier. The entry of turn 1, it is a little bit bumpy. It's easy to hit that incorrectly and push up into the car on the outside of you. Scott Eckridge gets into the outside wall there, but I don't think he has heavy damage. We'll have to see after he makes a pit stop for repairs. Hopefully he doesn't have anything major there.
Yeah, I actually saw that once they got together, Krobach actually stayed there and was trying to actually straighten out the 70 car, kind of hit him again to get him straight again, but then just it's so easy to overcorrect these cars with the rack and pinion steering, and it just sent Eckridge back the other way.
We'll see how many drivers come down pit road this time by, JR. This place is pretty abrasive on the tires. They wear out pretty quick, so not really surprising me to see a lot of guys down on pit road. And Kenny, what is this? Does this really impact our tire strategy for tonight? I know we got to 6 sets, so 5 changes.
Well, I don't expect there to be very many cautions tonight, so I think you'll see anytime we do get a yellow, you'll probably see drivers go ahead and take 4 fresh tires. You know, minimum 2 stops for fuel, So there's two sets of tires used there, and then one set here. Then you'll still have 2 more sets. So I think you'll see drivers be pretty aggressive going with 4 tires whenever they're able to, and it looks like that's the case, at least for most drivers.
Yeah, Woody Mahan with a really good pit stop. Wouldn't be too surprised if he only took 2 right side tires. Love to see how that plays out for him. Might help the handling of that race car. And just in case you were still curious about the overall championship point standings from earlier, we're going to go ahead and take another look at those again. Focus your eyes towards the upper end of this graphic here. Michael Krobach, Jeff Ward come into tonight's final race of the season, separated by just 14 points. That's what's going to decide who comes out of here, either A, a new champion, or B, the second 2-time champion of the Pretty Good Racing League. Brian Yazik in the 55 car sits third with 555 points. Scott Eckridge there defending PGRL Series champion in fourth. Woody Mahan fifth. Strong season for Woody. He's had a lot of things go his way, and I feel like really we said this is going to be maybe Woody's breakout season. I think it's kind of lived up to that. You see Mike Rasmus, Mr. Consistency there in the 7th position. Thomas George 60. Dan Biozzi, unfortunately she isn't here tonight, but shouldn't end up falling out of the top 10 to points. And if we continue to cycle through the points, you'll see the drivers in 11th to 20th position. Adam Beef Jersky, strong season for him. He's had a lot of podiums this year in general. Good to see him doing so well. Jonathan Cogswell been with us for some races. Good to have him back last week. And how about Brian Greenlee here once again this week?
So switching gears here, looks like Woody Mahan did take 2 tires on that pit stop, confirmed. And that'll give him the lead on this restart. I'm really curious to see how he's going to hold up here on this restart. He'll probably get the jump ahead of everybody, but I'm not sure how his tires are going to fare here. He might get swamped right away, but he might hold on. Who knows?
Yeah, generally, I know we've liked to say before that 2 tires on the right side tends to loosen the car. I wouldn't be too surprised if that were to happen, but the Cup cars in this configuration have never been to Iowa Speedway, so we don't really know if loosening the cars like that will help the performance, and it might only help you in the short run. It might only help you in the long run. We'll just have to see here. The lights are out atop the iRacing pace car, so we'll be going back green flag racing this time by Woody Mahan in the lead, Brian Yazik second, Jeff Ward third, Michael Krobach in fourth. Mike Rasmus, Mr. Consistency, rounds out the top 5. Green flag out in the air once again from Barney the Flagman. Another strong start from the pole sitter, Woody Mahan. Rockets out there to a big lead, but immediately swamped by everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. Behind him he has Jeff Ward and Brian Yazik side by side. Jeff Ward is wanting to make this pass happen, because if it doesn't, they're all going to go 3 wide here in turns 3 and 4.
Yeah, splitting the leader there, Jeff Ward all the way to the front. Michael Krobach looking to go again to the inside of Woody Mahan, trying to get himself into the podium positions. But right now, the most important thing for Jeff Ward, he's in the lead, and he's got Brian Yazik in between he and Michael Krobach. Mike Rasmus looking to the inside of Woody Mahan, that time by off of turn 2. Not quite going to make it happen. He's going to have another chance at the inside of turns 3 and 4. Still not quite close enough. Gets a little bit loose, though. He's got a decent run down the front stretch, as Mahan.
Yeah, and this is a place that could play into Mike Rasmus's hands as this race goes on. He's known for being able to be really good on his tires and be really fast in the long run, not necessarily up front, but having that long run speed. This is a track, like you talked about, that will wear these tires out. So if you can take care of those front tires better than the cars around you, you can really have something to work with at the end and make passes.
Boy, these last couple laps, Brian Yazik has been super aggressive trying to get the lead back from Jeff Ward. He got really loose this last time by off of turn 2, but you can tell he's turned up the aggression for sure. He wants to end this season with another win. Brian Yazik has had a decent amount of wins here, but he's been winless so far in the 2023 calendar year, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. Not the season that we hoped that he was going to have based on the previous season. He had won a lot of races right at the end of the previous season and really had some momentum coming in this year, but has not been able to convert that all the way over to a win, even though he has had some good finishes. So definitely he's trying to get this win tonight, get his pace going back in the right direction as we go into season 6.
Michael Krobach has since passed the number 55 machine of Brian Yazik, so now our two championship drivers sit in first and second position. And by the way, I talked about those stage points. They come at exactly the halfway point in the race, and for tonight, that is lap number 88. So at the conclusion of lap number 88, we're going to pay out 10 stage points to the winner and 1 stage point to the driver in 10th. Currently, everybody in the field would be eligible for the stage points, with only being 10 drivers out on the racetrack. But that means a lot for drivers like Jeff Ward and Michael Krobach. Again, only separated by 14 points to see who comes out of here the season number 5 PGRL champion.
Yeah, and just like we expected coming into this race, Jeff Ward and Michael Krobach are leading the field. They are 1 and 2 on the track right now, but at the moment, Jeff Ward is really putting in some nice lap times. He's pulled away to a little over a 1 second lead. The only question is, I mean, we know with this short field that we are going to get a long green flag run at some point, so is he using too much of his tires up right now? That's what we're going to have to pay attention to.
And again, go ahead.
I was going to say, speaking of tires and tire strategy, Woody Mahan, we talked about him. He took the 2 tires on that caution, started first. Well, he didn't keep the lead for a single lap under green, and he's down in 8th place right now. So obviously the 2 tires didn't quite work out for him. I saw about a 3 to 4/10 drop off in those 15 laps that we had run. Drivers are definitely going to take a mental note of that for later and go, well, if we get a late race caution, we better put 4 tires on if we got them, because it didn't really work out for Woody.
Yeah, it might not have worked out for Woody Mahan there right off the bat, but Kenny, like you said, he was already running kind of mid-pack by that point in the race. So maybe if you're a guy like Brian Yazik or Mike Rasmus, you have a caution come out with, let's say 20 laps to go, maybe it might not be that bad of an idea to get out there with the lead with your 2 tires and just try to blitz yourself away from the field and see what you can have happen if you're in that scenario.
The only problem here specifically is that if you're at a tire disadvantage and a pace disadvantage, there's so many options at this place of where drivers can go. It's not just a single groove racetrack. Drivers can just, it makes you defenseless. You can pick one groove and the drivers behind you will just pick another groove and fly right by you. So really hard to defend here unless you got a really good pace in general.
Right, and I feel like you have to be one of the 4 or 5 fastest drivers out here tonight in order to at least have a shot at that happening. I feel like a guy like Brian Yazik, if you're not in a good opportunity to win by the end of the race, you want to make sure you get 1 win this season. Go ahead and put 2 tires on there, see what you can do. You see Jeff Ward and the rest of our leaders coming up here to lap Zach Olson in the number 55 car. That'll put him 1 lap down. He would be lucky dog eligible, though, if we get a caution before the next driver goes a lap down. For right now, that'd be Guy L. Brooks, and he's got about 19 seconds up from Zach Olson, so should be quite a while before we see that 17 car go one lap down.
And I talked to Zach a little bit before this race started, and he said he wasn't really a fan of this place. And I think, in PGRL moving forward, including this race, with the schedule being very different, it's going to make it so drivers won't be able to use NIS as a way to practice before these races anymore, or even their past experience in NIS with the different cars that we're picking up for next season as well. So it's going to be a difficult challenge for these drivers moving forward, and I think Zach was one that really liked being able to run NIS and then look forward to a PGRL race, but not able to do that anymore.
Yeah, so just to go ahead and kind of touch base on what we've been talking about with basically a shift of what the Pretty Good Racing League is going to do on Tuesdays. From now on, instead of driving the NASCAR Next Gen Cup car, we're going to be switching between the Gen 4, the old ARCA car, and then trucks. So we'll have 2 different short races on a given night, and we'll just basically alternate between the 2 on a week-to-week basis. And instead of there being following the NASCAR Cup Series schedule, we're just going to go from Labor Day weekend to Memorial Day weekend with only a couple breaks in between for things like Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, stuff like that. And then we're going to have a chase So instead of it being kind of Winston Cup Series points, we are going to have a chase. It looks like there's a yellow flag out on the speedway.
Yeah, I was talking earlier about how Zach was struggling to get a feel for this place, and he got up out of the groove, was just trying to stay out of everybody's way, and got loose in the middle of turn 1 and 2, came down, and you see right there he hooks Woody Mahan. Woody does a really good job of saving it, but he does make pretty hard contact with both the right rear and right front of his car.
Hard lick there for Mahan up into the outside wall, and boy, if that's just not the kind of the story of the way Woody's Cup Series here has gone, I don't know what is. Yeah, decent hit there with the rear end and then with the front end as well. Hopefully he doesn't have too much damage on that machine. Zach Olson seems to be tracking straight still for right now. But again, it looks like all of our leaders are now going to come down onto pit road, led by Jeff Ward. And Brian Yasek looks like he has stayed out in the 55 car, so he should cycle up to the lead. I believe Mark Cohn has to as well. That says Brian Greenlee.
Yes, we pretty much only ran another 15 to 20 laps. So, yeah, this is going to be, we're going to start talking about our tire usage here at this point. Really can only afford to use maybe one more set of tires freely here, or you really have to start thinking about conserving for the end.
Yeah, and I think with the small field that we have, I don't see this as being a bad idea, but I do really like the idea of being kind of one tire set up on the rest of the field. So Jeff Ward, Michael Krobach going to win the race off pit road, and with that, we're going to take a short break. We'll be back in about a minute and a half.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to the Mars Properties Vacation Rentals 175 from Iowa Speedway. You're watching the Pretty Good Racing League on the Virtual Grip Network. Austin Belke, J.R. Shepard, Kenny Kibbe with you in the booth. As always, Ryan Seneker is our director. He's up in the production trailer. Mars Properties offers out-of-this-world pricing on fully finished vacation rental homes close to the ocean in New Bern, North Carolina. For more information, you can email Mars Properties, that's Mars with two S's, at gmail.com. So far, we've had 2 cautions, currently completing lap number 41 of this 175-lap affair. Just now getting over our second of those cautions I just mentioned. Brian Yasek, currently your leader, with Mark Cohn and Brian Greenlee rounding out your podium. All 3 of the first 3 drivers there have stayed out underneath this most recent caution. Jeff Ward, Michael Krobach, Scott Eckridge, Mike Rasmus, Guy Brooks, Woody Mahan, and Zach Olson have gone down pit lane to either repair some damage or put on 4 fresh tires. And JR, you made a pretty decent comment here about pit strategy for the rest of this race between the drivers that did and did not just come down pit road.
Yeah, the drivers that just pitted can absolutely, for sure, if we go green, make this race on just one more pit stop. Those that stayed out, they might be able to make it, but they're going to have to save fuel. That's going to cost them time if we go green. So we'll have to see how this plays out. But those drivers that stayed out, definitely hoping that we get another caution at some point.
Green flag back in the air. Brian Yazik going to rocket away from the rest of the field. And right now, his two best friends are Brian Greenlee and Mark Cohn. Currently, those two drivers too wide, not letting Scott Eckridge get through them. And now look at Michael Krobach trying to take advantage of Jeff Ward being held up by those two drivers. Ward's going to go all the way to the top side, but let's see his momentum here. Is it going to get shut out by Mark Cohn? Look at Brian Greenlee goes spinning off at turn number 4 and into the grass on the inside of the track.
Yeah, Krobach got a little bit out of shape and came down on Greenlee as they exit. At least that's my first look at it. Greenlee is still in the grass trying to get going again. I think this will stay green, though.
Right now, Jeff Ward in the second position. Michael Krobach now up into third. Scott Eckridge just took away the 4th spot, and in the 5th position, none other than Mr. Consistency himself, Mike Rasmus. You just saw there a little bit of a replay. There's Brian Greenlee on the apron of the racetrack, so he did get that number 38 car going back in the right direction.
Yeah, and that intensity that we saw on the restart there, that is just because Jeff Ward and Michael Krobach, they know they're racing each other. More importantly, Jeff Ward knows he cannot let Michael Krobach ahead of him just because of the point situation. He has 14 points that he has to make up. He's made up one of those because he's led a lap and Krobach hasn't right now, but he needs to lead the most laps. He needs to get the get the stage win at halfway. That can be a lot of points for himself.
And the 15-lap older tires for Brian Yazik not really doing him much good right now. Got on the lead. He was able to get some bonus points, but he'd already led a lap, so he isn't getting extra bonus points for leading more than one unless he were to lead the most. You see Jeff Ward now go down to the inside, and Brian Yazik, having lost the lead, is going to get out of the way for all the rest of the drivers on the fresh tires, like your Michael Krobach and Scott Eckridge. Those two drivers now move into second and third place, respectively.
Yeah, and right behind him is Scott Eckridge. He's made his way up into 3rd spot. Obviously, the damage, the contact that he had with the outside wall earlier was light enough that it's not caused any engine damage or aerodynamic issues as far as what we can tell. But for Jeff Ward and Michael Krobach, that is the one driver they do not want to see behind them because they know that Scott Eckridge is going to go out here and try to win this race and mix it up with them. And in doing so, if they get themselves in a bad position, it can cost them a lot in this championship.
Jeff Ward currently your leader with just about a half a second of a lead over Michael Krobach. He's got Scott Eckridge hot on his heels, but you know, JR, you can talk about this as well with a teammate fighting for the championship like Scott Eckridge has. How much are you really going to continue to hound the 72 car of Michael Krobach if you're in that 3rd place position?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to definitely be respectful, number one. You're going to try not to get anywhere close, meaning when you go to make a pass, you're going to try to give extra room, leave a half a car, full car width in between yourself and Michael to make sure that that contact does not happen because you do not want to interfere with points in that way. But the other thing is, if Scott feels like he can go out here and win this race, he's going to go up there and take that lead because at the end of the day, that does not do anything points-wise to hurt Michael. And if anything, it would help him because it could prevent Jeff Ward from gaining extra points.
Yeah, I always like to think of it as if I take 1 point away from my teammate, that's not good. But if I can take 1 point away from my teammate and his competition, then it's just like I sat behind him all day. So as long as, if I'm Scott Eckridge, as long as I can pass both drivers ahead of me, then I have absolutely no problem going up there and kind of ride him a little bit harder to get on by, seeing if I can't add another notch to my win total season for this year and career-wise.
Checking back on those drivers that stayed out under the last caution, Yazik, Cohn, and Greenlee. We obviously saw Greenlee go spinning through the grass. Yazik is settled in 6th place right now, but he's definitely fighting a loose race car, especially down in turn 1 and 2 where all the bumps are. And then Mark Cohn down in 8th place at the moment. You see him on the screen. And JR, I'm really seeing a lot of bouncing of these cars, especially down in 1 and 2. What's so challenging about those bumps down on that end of the racetrack?
Yeah, you know, we talked about it a little bit earlier. The bottom especially through 1 and 2, is very bumpy on corner entry and through the center of the corner about the time you're wanting to pick up that throttle on exit. So in IndyCar, it's challenging, and you have to hit those bumps in a certain way so it doesn't bounce you up the racetrack, because that's usually what it tries to do, is push you up the racetrack. You kind of lose the feel in the steering, the front gets light, and it takes a while before the front comes back down and grips back into the racing surface. By that time, you're usually in about the middle groove of the racetrack. But in this next gen car, we know that the suspensions on them are very rigid, so that's going to make it even worse. It's going to be almost like driving a go-kart on a very, very bumpy surface. It's going to bounce. And you're basically using your tires as the springs. So we know that you have to have tire pressure in there in order to keep the car staggered and with a good feeling. I'm not sure what that tire pressure stagger is at the moment, but you definitely have to have air in your tires, obviously, to make the car rotate. So those are going to act as springs, and this chassis is already rigid enough as it is. So it's going to be extremely challenging for these drivers. We saw it a little bit earlier with Michael Krobach going into turn 1 when he and Scott got together. That was the product of those bumps. The car just does not want to stay on the bottom, and I've not driven this car around here, but I'm going to think that on corner entry this car is already tight. Hitting those bumps is only going to make it worse. So the drivers are really going to have to back up that corner entry and just let the car settle over those bumps before they start to do anything with the throttle.
Yeah, talking about the handling of these race cars, JR and Kenny, one thing I've noticed these last couple laps is Jeff Ward comes off turn number 4 a lot more sideways than Michael Krobach. Michael's been doing a much better job at coming off the corner straighter, and I don't know if that's either A, less wheel in the car, or B, a lot less throttle input. This last time by, Jeff Ward coming off the corner a lot straighter, but so far I think Krobach's been doing a much better job at just managing his tire wear.
Yeah, for sure. We saw it in the last run. Jeff Ward opened up about a 1.2, 1.3 second lead over Krobach, but Michael was able to close back in after we got, 25, 30 laps into that run. So he's definitely doing a better job on saving his tires, probably like you pointed out, particularly on corner exit, saving the rear tires, making sure he has that forward grip, that forward bite coming off the corner. And turn 4 here in any race car has notoriously been known for being loose under throttle. No matter where you're at, if you're at the bottom or the top, you can really wear those tires out, and it's inviting because the corner exit opens up. You really want to lay that throttle pedal down and carry the momentum down the front straightaway, but if you overstep that throttle on corner exit, it will get the rear end loose. You do that lap after lap after lap, you heat those rear tires up, and the condition continues to get worse until you can almost not touch that throttle at all. And right now we're seeing Michael Krobach, he's kind of in attack mode. He's got better grip off of the corners.
Yeah, doing a much better job that last time into turns 1 and 2. He took a little bit higher of an entry, forced a late exit on the corner, got a really good run down the backstretch, and then went almost all the way up to the wall in turns 3 and 4. That lap car you saw, that was the 15 of Zach Olson, just barely brushing the wall on the top side. You saw Mike Rasmus get down underneath that 15 car. That'll put the 15 of Zach Olson now 2 laps down, and I think ever since Jeff Ward saw how much more aggressive Michael Krobach was willing to be, he has since then started to pick up his pace and has now started to run kind of where Michael Krobach wants to pit his car, especially going higher in turns 3 and 4.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen Jeff Ward change his line up a bit, and that's a smart race car driver. Number one, you're going to take that air away from the guy behind you if that's where he prefers to run. But secondly, I think Jeff realizes the way that he's been driving the car through turns 3 and 4 is starting to wear those rear tires out. So one way you can kind of compensate for that is drive that corner in a way that allows you to come off with less steering input, come off of the corner straighter, because that will allow you to grip up and have traction up off the corner. So he's starting to do those things, and right now starting to open up a slight gap, so we'll have to see how this plays out for him, but right now he is doing what he needs to do to maintain that lead.
Yeah, also taking notice of now Scott Eckridge all the way up to the back end of Michael Krobach. Krobach going to go a little bit high for him in turn 1. That's going to allow the 70 car to go on by, and now the best thing for Michael Krobach to do is to have his teammate Scott Eckridge go up there and just start hounding the 9 car. Maybe make him to force a mistake, or just let the 70 car by. Try and take points away from the 9 car at Jeff Ward. Maybe Scott can A, just lead a lap, and then B, hopefully lead the most laps and just take those points away from Jeff Ward, especially being able to lead the most laps. That is another bonus point available here on offer in the Pretty Good Racing League.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, that's what Jeff Ward. Oh, we got a caution out on the Speedway. We'll have to see what this one is for.
Looks like it's Zach Olson we're getting word of.
Yeah, it's down in turn 2 again, which has been a real problem spot for him, and again ends up being a 2-car incident. You see, he gets loose. He's been loose up there all night long, overcorrects on the outside wall, and then an innocent passerby, which was Gael Brooks that time, ends up getting hammered in the right side. He should be able to continue. Also of note, Brian Greenlee pulled off the racetrack. He's now out. There you see Gael Brooks. He did a good job getting down to the apron, but Olson came down the track and smacked into him. Now, this is going to make pitting strategy a little bit interesting. Obviously, the drivers that stayed out, this is going to benefit them, but drivers who've already taken 2 sets of tires, now they're going to take their third. We still have over 100 laps to go.
Yeah, and let's not forget as well, in just about 21 laps from now, stage points will be on offer for these drivers, and that's a big point of contention with the championship contenders. You want to get as many points as possible. Again, the separation between first and second place in the points championship is only 14 points. So any other opportunity you can get to earn some by passing other cars on track, or maybe putting some between you and your other championship competitors, a huge deal to help yourself in any way possible. Jeff Ward, then Scott Eckridge, and then Michael Krobach, followed by Mike Rasmus. That's the order as they exit the pit lane. With this caution, we're going to take another 1.5-minute break. We'll be back in about 90 seconds. Welcome back to Iowa Speedway on the Virtual Group Network. We're here with the Pretty Good Racing League and their Mars Properties Vacation Rentals 175. Austin Belke, J.R. Shepard, Kenny Kibbe with you on the call. As always, Ryan Seneker in the production trailer. Mars Properties offers out-of-this-world pricing on fully furnished vacation rental homes close to the ocean in New Bern, North Carolina. For more information, you can email Mars Properties, that's Mars with 2 S's, at gmail.com. Just now getting over our third caution here as we continue to complete lap number 69 of the 175 for the scheduled race distance. This third caution again coming out from a little bit of a coming together between Zach Olson and Gael Brooks. That's going to put Zach Olson now 4 laps down currently in the pit. So far we've only lost Brian Greenlee. It's the only driver to fully disconnect from the racing session. So far, Jeff Ward has led the most laps, and allegedly, Kenny, has Zach telling you his car is pretty much done for the night.
Yeah, he just had a really tough go at it. I'm having a hard time learning this track, and I can see where he's coming from. This is a challenging track. It's kind of hard to really know where. It's easy to get lost at a place like this where there's so many options on the grooves, and you see how uncomfortable the cars have been on corner entry with worn tires especially. So Iowa Speedway has chewed and spit out the 15 car.
Jeff Ward, currently your leader. Scott Eckridge in the second position. Third goes to Michael Krobach. Mike Rasmus is fourth, and Mark Cohn rounds out the top 5 positions. So far of the drivers on the lead lap. Brian Yazik in sixth, Woody Mahan in seventh. Kyle Brooks, the last car, still out on the racetrack, only 1 lap down. Jeff Ward's going to rocket out to a pretty decent lead there. You look at all the drivers, how fast they go to single file.
Yeah, definitely. The drivers are going to try to go single file as soon as possible because that is the best way to get into a rhythm and start to take care of those tires. The one interesting thing is the leaders, they only have 5 sets of tires in the pits when they started. The leaders have taken 3 of those. So we know they're going to use 1 more set because they have to pit 1 more time to make it on fuel. That set will go away then. That only leaves them 1 additional set. You're going to have to, in my mind, save that set just in case we get a late race caution, because whoever has tires in the pits with a late race caution will more than likely win this race.
I completely agree with you, JR. Looking back at the 55 car, that's Brian Yazik. Currently, he sits in the 5th position. He's gone ahead and got himself 1 spot right off the bat, going around the outside of Mark Cohn. He stayed out after the second caution, or through the second caution, I should say, and didn't take tires. That got him up to lead a couple more laps, and after that, the rest of the field kind of swallowed him up, forced him to the back with their 4 fresh field goods, doing just much better lap times. But so far, everybody out on the racetrack has come down pit road, so they're all effectively on equal tires.
Yeah, I bet Yazik and Cohn are feeling really smart right here because they have a tire set advantage over the rest of the field. So if depending on how things play out, we got Woody Mahan has nosed into the outside fence hard in turn 4. This is not going to bring out a caution. Car. Yeah, that's going to be day done for Mahan.
And he's off the racing line. Not only is he moving, but he is off the racing track. So therefore, iRacing will not throw a caution. This is a replay of what happened to the 84 car. He's got a little bit too wiggly there in turn number 4. Overcorrected in the outside wall. And Kenny, it's so easy to do.
Yeah, you just you get into the bumpy areas of the racetrack, and you kind of have to open up the wheel, and if you end up turning the wheel a little too much at the wrong time, I don't know what kind of how much brake these drivers are putting into their race cars, how much they're using, but that could play a factor as well if you're running a lot of rear brake. Yeah, these cars have looked on edge all evening long, and I hate that for Woody.
Yeah, most likely that's going to end his night. You see him now not on the pit road, still trying to circle his way around. Finally gets around, circling back down to pit road. You're going to see the leaders now here quickly swamp by him, putting him his first of the laps down. Jeff Ward out there with a commanding lead. But guys, I mean, if last run is anything to go off of, Jeff Ward is really fast at the start of a run, but then as the race goes on, he continues to get slower and slower. In fact, Michael Krobach caught up to him last run, but just couldn't get by, and then let Scott Eckridge by, and then Scott ran down Jeff, and then ran out of time before the caution came out. So I've got a pretty strong suspicion that I think Scott Eckridge and Michael Krobach are just a little bit better at managing their tires so far.
Yeah, it certainly appears so. The one thing I'm kind of seeing Jeff do is he's staying committed to the bottom of the racetrack. Now, as long as he's decided to back up his corner entry and not overdrive the entry points in the turn 1 and turn 3, he can save tires by being down there, because we know the bottom of the track is bumpy. It makes you stay in a driving position where you cannot get on that throttle. You're having to hesitate. All of your inputs have to be lighter. So you can save tires down there opposed to running the middle or the higher side of the racetrack, but you can also wear it out. So it just depends on how you're driving it. I'm assuming that Jeff's going to make note of what happened the last couple of runs and make adjustments to what he is doing. Continuing right now to pull away at the moment, but the telltale sign will be in about 20 laps if Scott Eckridge and Michael Krobach start to close back in.
And just now getting word as well on our competitor in the number 84 car, Woody Mahan. You saw him get a bit loose and pound the outside wall on the exit of turn 4, bring the car down to the apron and down onto pit road. He has recently just manually disconnected from the session, so that unfortunately is the last we're going to see the 84 car of Woody Mahan for tonight.
Yeah, so with him and Zach Olson both retiring, we're down to 7 cars on track, 6 on the lead lap. Kyle Brooks, remember, he's a little bit wounded from the damage that he sustained with the last Zach Olson crash. He's the only car 1 lap down, just kind of riding around in 7th, hopefully, or hoping to get a caution at some point.
And guys, this next time by, we're going to have just 5 laps to go before the end of stage number 1. And just like in the NASCAR Premier Series, 10 points get paid out to the driver in the lead, 1 point to the driver in the 10th position. Again, that's the 50% mark of the race. However, we don't intentionally throw a caution at the end of the stage. You could just interpolate the amount of points for position between the top 10. We'll stay back green flag racing, though. And guys, I kind of wondered here if Scott Eckridge is going to let his teammate Michael Krobach on by to maximize the stage points that 72 car can earn.
Yeah, absolutely. Be interesting to watch in these next few laps what happens with that ordeal. Jeff Ward's obviously hoping that Scott Eckridge stays in 2nd place because that'll be another 2 points that he's able to gain. Also, something interesting to note here, if Jeff Ward, I can't remember what lap he took the lead in this race. I know it was fairly early, around lap 20, lap 30. He doesn't have many more laps to go before he locks up the most laps led in this race, and that's an additional 3 points as well.
Jeff Ward doing everything he needs to do right now to try and take back this championship lead. And in case you haven't been with us all season, Jeff Ward was the driver to beat until, I'm going to say, just about the maybe midpoint to 75% of the way, 3/4 of the way through the season, where he had to miss 2 races in a row. Those were his 2 drop weeks for the season. And ever since then, Michael Krobach has taken the championship lead, and he hasn't looked back once.
No, Michael Krobach has had an extremely consistent season this year, done a fantastic job. You know, he only has the 1 win so far, but in the 9 races that we've ran, he's the only driver to have 9 top 5 finishes. So that is the biggest thing that has led him to be that championship leader all season long, being the most consistent driver out there.
Riding on board here as we continue to look out the windshield of Michael Krobach. They are going to cross the stripe this time by. That should be the end of the first stage here. We're just now starting lap number 89. So Jeff Ward going to get himself 10 points. Scott Eckridge 9, Michael Krobach 8. So that came into tonight's race, separated by just 14 points. So far, Jeff Ward has led a lap. Michael Krobach has not. That's down to 13, and then with the 2 points that Jeff Ward just got, the championship now split by just 11 points.
Yeah, and Jeff's pace right now is really good. It looks like Krobach's kind of fallen off a little bit these last few laps because Eckridge is starting to pull away from him as well. But I really like what Jeff Ward's doing. He's just riding along that bottom and just hitting his marks every single lap. Not really trying to change anything up at the moment, just kind of running the same line over and over again, and he's been really smooth at it.
Yeah, I mean, he's just basically doing what JR coined last year when we were at Charlotte. He's basically just Jeff Warding the race so far, just kind of running what the car needs in terms of pace to stay out there in the lead and try to get himself to the start-finish line at the end of the checkered flag the fastest he can.
Yeah, and I will say Austin, he's doing a fantastic job. The one thing that we don't normally see Jeff Ward do is go out and set one of the fastest laps during the race. But we do know in PGRL that whoever has the fastest lap during the race, that is an additional point. Now, it's only 1 point, but that is an additional point that he desperately needs. Right now, Brian Yazik has that fastest lap. And I don't think Jeff's going to be able to do it on this run, but obviously the next time he gets tires, as this sun goes down, Jeff's really going to be looking at trying to get a fast lap in so he can take that point as well.
Yeah, there's also another bonus point or two for being the driver that gains the most position throughout the race. And you might say, well, that should be Scott Eckridge. He started 10th. He's up to 2nd. The past champions are not eligible for that until they start where everybody else does, that whole inverting the field thing. So otherwise, that'd pretty much just be a lock for our 2 defending series champions. So Scott Eckridge, not eligible for those bonus points. Jeff Ward started in 8th. He's up to 1st. Michael Krobach started in 7th position. He's only up to 3rd. So right now, Jeff Ward, another one of those bonus points. So I said 11 before. The 3 he'll get for leading the most laps, JR. That'll put him down to 8. And with that extra point there, if it is a point for gaining the most spots since the start of the race, down to 7.
Oh yeah, and actually gaining the most spots looks like it's worth 3 points. So that is a big one to get.
Down
so
to 5.
that would make Jeff eligible for that. Yep.
Yeah, and guys, also, kind of for the first time this evening, I'm starting to see Mike Rasmus put some pressure on the Krobach. That is kind of the closest battle that we have on track right now, is between the 68 and the 72. You see the gap right there. Krobach's either he did something at the beginning of this run to overdrive and use up his tires. Something has kind of gone wrong, or maybe the changing conditions on track has affected the balance of his race car, but he's struggling this, kind of trying to nurse his way to the next pit stop. As you see Rasmus there getting really loose through 1 and 2. But we'll have to see. Let me look real quick at what our fuel window is. 80 laps. So we're getting close to the fuel window to make it to the end. I would not doubt to see Michael Krobach be one of the first cars, if not the first car, to pit to get those old tires off.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, if you're pretty certain you can make it 80 laps on a tank of fuel, go ahead, bring your car down on pit road right now. See if you can undercut the field by a lot. I don't really foresee us having a caution unless some driver makes some sort of an unforced error bringing their car down onto pit road. So I think that's definitely an option right now, and I think if any driver were to kind of pull that strategy, it would be the driver of the 72 car, Michael Krobach. I will say, though, for right now, it is kind of risky, and him being the driver with the most to lose, I don't know how risky a strategy you take it. I always like to think of how Mercedes runs their Formula One car program as what is the safest option to get the maximum amount of points.
Yeah, luckily, in today's field, you can be as aggressive or as conservative as you want, and either strategy is not going to lose you a boatload of points as long as you execute that strategy. Don't get any penalties or anything like that. You see right there, looks like Mark Cohn, he's on pit lane. He's going to go at least 1 lap down here, make a pit stop.
And this track is only 9/10 of a mile, so and we do like to see any track under a mile in length, a mile or under 1 mile, considered a short track. So this being a shorter track, he wouldn't be too surprised if he were to go 1 lap down, maybe 2 laps down, but he should be pretty well clear of going that 2nd lap down. Oh no, looks like he did. The 8 car 2 laps down.
Yeah, so definitely he's going to be a driver that hopes this cycles through, but obviously he's going to have tires that are going to be a little bit faster than those leaders right now, may be able to get one of those laps back. Talking about pit strategy though, guys, and the fact that Michael Krobach may decide to do the undercut on this pit stop cycle. The one thing that Jeff Ward's having to do, he has a good lead right now. It appears that he has things in control, but he's going to have that relative pulled up so that he can watch each and every lap to see if Michael Krobach pits, because the one thing he doesn't want to do is give Michael Krobach more than 1 lap on new tires compared to himself.
No, Scott Eckridge for that same kind of point as well. The best thing for right now, Jeff Ward, is the fact that he's got 1 car between himself and championship competitor Michael Krobach. Brian Yazik onto, now off of pit road. We'll see how that works for his situation.
One thing that Jeff has going for him is he has a large enough gap to where with about a 1.2 second fall off that I'm seeing on tires this run, and with Jeff having a 1.6 second advantage, theoretically he can wait 1 lap. He can be undercut by 1 lap and get away with it and keep the lead as long as he executes his pit stop properly.
Oh, getting word here, Brian Yazik has a lot of damage looking at the 55 car, he might have not just gone down pit road. I think I just saw him on the apron.
Oh.
See if I can't take a look back here.
Yeah, he on lap 102, I believe, last lap, he in turn 4
Oh, yeah?
lost it,
what he
overcorrected,
made
and
it.
yeah, he impaled himself on the outside wall. And that's easily terminal damage for him.
Yeah, that's day done for the 50. Figured this was going to be, if it was anything like last year, this season was going to be when we saw Brian Gassing really catapult himself up into the upper echelon, the highest, I should say, of pretty good racing league competition, and really challenge for the championship win like he did in season 3, but just not the way things have gone so far here in seasons 4 and 5. Unfortunately, Gassick having 2 back-to-back seasons of just not the kind of pace we're used to seeing out of the 55.
Yeah, absolutely, and I gotta think that Brian's gonna be looking forward to next season to move on and do something different than this current car. Go do something with the trucks and the Gen 4 car, 2 vehicles that drive completely different than this. So that may just be the opportunity that he was looking for to try to get things turned around after this rough season.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting dynamic next season, seeing, you know, we might see some completely new drivers up towards the front, drivers that struggled in this next-gen car that'll actually be pretty strong in the trucks. And then since we're running another vehicle with the Gen 4 car, you might see some more different drivers fare pretty well in that car. So that might really jumble up the running order, and I'm sure that Brian's one of those drivers who's looking forward to that change.
Battle on your screen right now is between the second and third place drivers. Scott Eckrich in the number 70 car, Michael Krobach in the 72. Again, Krobach, one of our 2 championship competitors, comes into this race with a 14-point lead over competitor Jeff Ward for the championship win.
And
Scott
it's not
all over the place.
I was going to say, it's not all smooth sailing, even for these leaders. As you said, Scott Eckert's all over the place. I just saw Jeff Ward get really loose about a lap ago, loose again. And they're actually, I think the 2 drivers in second and third are kind of starting to run him down a little bit. It is under a second now. Yeah, they are running him down. So even the leaders are struggling with the handling of these race cars.
Yeah, absolutely, Kenny. Jeff's not just loose on corner exit like we've seen a lot of these guys. Jeff is also loose getting into the corner, and that's very dangerous. That's about the only thing you can do when that happens is just back up your corner entry. And see, Jeff's doing the smart thing. He's decided, I've got to bail, I've got to get to pit road to get some tires before he loses this lead.
Yeah, guys, Mike Rasmus has been, he's almost getting ready to be put 1 lap down by our leaders, and I'll tell you why. He spun out coming off turn 4 into the infield. That's why you see him so far down. He's about to get lapped in a little bit. This is a replay of that.
Yeah, good catch on that one, Austin. And yeah, big time spin. And more importantly for the championship, that's a potential point that Michael Krobach was maybe going to lose. And instead, that most likely won't happen pending cautions and things like that. That'll take Rasmus out of contention.
Jeff Ward now onto and off of pit road. So Scott Eckrich leading a lap right now. If I were Michael Krobach, I hate to give away the win, but you really do need to lead 1 lap. So I'd be on the radio to teammate Scott Eckrich saying, "Hey, dude, get out of the way. I need this point."
Yeah, absolutely. That's what he's hoping for, but you never know with the contact that happened earlier between himself and Scott. Scott may say, "Hey, I'm just going to stay out front. I'll take this one." So you never know how things are going to play out. But yeah, Michael's desperately wanting to lead at least 1 lap here so he can at least close that advantage that Jeff Ward has on himself at the moment. But the thing is, Kenny kind of touched on it, with this short field and the number of cars that are coming or falling out of contention, this is just moving into Michael Krobach's favor each and every lap because it's less vehicles he has to worry about. He could have an issue toward the end of this race and still potentially win this championship.
Scott Eckrich now coming up to the rear end here of Gael Brooks. Gael currently the last car 1 lap down, looking at going 2 laps down. Scott Scott Eckridge going to go to the inside now. It looks like IL is going to check up a little bit on corner exit to allow the 70 and the 72 cars to get down to his inside. Interesting strategy call here by the 70 and the 72 to stay out on the racetrack.
Yeah, it is a little bit interesting for sure because, obviously they're losing a ton of time to Jeff.
Ooh, look at Krobach getting a run.
Yep, he's getting a run, and, Scott doesn't appear that he's going to fight him. He's going to give him room on entry and allow him to take that also on corner exit. So, yeah, Scott's not going to fight him too hard. Looks like Krobach is a little bit faster at the moment, but that does give Michael Krobach that 1 point lead. So now that makes him even with Jeff Ward as far as leading a lap tonight.
Yeah, so worst case scenario, as they run, Mike might only be now just 6 points to the good, which again, still pretty good race for him, but there's still a lot that can and will happen by the end of this 175 lap affair.
Do you guys think that maybe since, Jeff Ward put his 4th set of tires on and only has that 1 set left and we still have 80 laps or 50 some laps to go, sorry, do you think that maybe Krobach and Eckridge are thinking, well, we're going to put that 4th set of tires on later so that we're not so worried about if some cautions come out at the end. We don't have to worry so much about what tires we put on when.
I mean, basically, just with, we've only got 6 cars out on the racetrack right now. So I really don't feel like we'll get some sort of an errant caution. I will say, though, if there is no caution, Jeff Ward is going to completely run away with this race. Now, if there is a caution, essentially Jeff Ward is going to need to come down and take tires at all. Just in general, he's been out on these tires for a little bit too long, in my opinion. That 9 car, he came down pit road. Oh, Scott Eckridge in the outside wall. Well, go ahead and just take that last conversation we had and throw it out the window. And the most unfortunate part for Jeff Ward, unfortunate or not, he is in the lucky dog position, but he's going to have to start at the tail end of the field. As you can see, that 70 car absolutely destroyed the front end of Eckridge's car.
Yeah, and this definitely moves to the favor of Michael Krobach for not having pitted. Jeff Ward obviously only has 1 set. He's got a big decision here if he's going to take that last set or save it in case there is another caution out. Obviously, Krobach has 2 sets. He can go ahead and pit and be fine here and have the advantage on tires. So it's going to be interesting. Strategy's kind of coming into play here. We'll have to see which way works out. Obviously, Jeff Ward's going to hope that we have another caution if he stays out, but looks like he's going to choose to pit as well.
Oh, check that. He's going to stay out.
Well, I'm not 100% sure the pit lane's even open for him yet because remember, he's a lap down.
Right, he still hasn't even been waved around the pace car yet, so he needs to do that first. So probably good catch, though, by the 9 car. So he's being waved around the pace car, so this time by he will be eligible to pit.
I know this is all theoreticals, but I truly feel like he's got about 10 laps on those new tires. I feel like if I were Jeff, I would stay out. And because you know that you were saving your tires, for the most part, better than Krobach for a good majority of that run. So if you can save your stuff and have something for the end, that might be a doable thing.
I just think there's no way that Jeff can come down pit road and feel good about his race strategy whatsoever, just because I didn't figure at least we get another caution. To see an unforced error out of Scott Eckridge is huge. We never see that happen. So this race can catch out Scott Eckridge at the end of a tire run. It can catch anybody in the field out. So if I'm Jeff Ward, I don't know if I want to take tires, but it looks like he is back down pit road, and I understand he's basically got to play it aggressive because he's got nothing to lose.
Yeah, I mean, if we run, we got 50 laps to go. And, if we run 25 laps or something and get a caution, obviously Krobach's going to pit, and that's absolutely going to do Jeff Ward in. I mean, completely. There's no way he's going to be able to hold Michael off. But if they run green flag to the end, which they very well may, because we only have 5 cars now, that'll put Jeff, on a relatively equal strategy. Granted, he has to pass a couple cars before he gets up to Michael. But honestly, I mean, as long as Michael stays right behind Jeff, he'll win this championship. So if Jeff gets up to second and starts bothering Michael, if I'm Michael, I just let him go.
Well, let him go, but, race car drivers always want to win, so you can't fault them for wanting to do just that here before the end of the season. We've already seen Michael go to victory lane, but, you can never win too much. We're going to take a quick 1.5-minute break. When we come back, we'll go ahead and resume coverage here of the Mars Properties Vacation Rentals 175 from Iowa Speedway. You're watching the Virtual Grip Network.
This is your chance to get behind the wheel. The opportunity to race just like the pros. From the grassroots levels, where we all got our start, to the most popular race cars on the planet. From the fairgrounds of Nashville to the high banks of Daytona, to tracks that will never be forgotten. Realistic driving, intense competition, all from the comfort of your own home. This is the ultimate motorsports simulation. This is iRacing.
Welcome back to Corn Country. We're here in Des Moines, Iowa at Iowa Speedway for the Mars Properties Vacation Rentals 175. It sure has been a race of attrition. So far, only 5 drivers left out on the track. That's what remains of the field. Only 3 of them still on the lead lap. Michael Krobach, Mike Rasmus, Jeff Ward, Mark Cohn, Gael Brooks. So far, complete the field that is still out on the racetrack. The iRacing pace car makes a hard left turn back down pit road. Green flag back in the air once again for Michael Krobach in the 72 car. The best thing for him right now is he's got 2 more cars in between himself and Jeff Ward in the 9, but Jeff Ward going to make short work of him, it looks like, so far.
Yeah, the great thing about what Jeff Ward's been doing tonight is he's been working that bottom lap after lap, so he knows how to make that work, and he easily makes those passes because of that. Everyone else wanting to run the middle to topside.
So now Jeff Ward puts himself back solidly into the 2nd position. He continues to do almost everything he can to win this championship. Again, he came into tonight 14 points. That's 14 positions behind the 72 car of Michael Krobach. Because they've both led a lap, both those points are moot. Jeff Ward currently, though, has led more laps than Michael Krobach. If he were to lead just a handful more, he would lock up the extra 2 or 3 bonus points for leading the most amount of laps. But for right now, Jeff Ward, with those 2 extra points he gained at the stage, that puts the championship lead now down to just 12 spots.
And remember, we talked about Mike Rasmus, and how he had a self-spin earlier, was out of contention. Well, now he's back into contention with that caution. And you see he's kind of off in the distance in the background of the shot there, but he's always smart at saving his tires. So if we go green to the end, I would expect him to be a player before this one's over.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Just a really solid driver, and this is one of those racetracks where it does you well to conserve your stuff, but we did see Mike Rasmus go for a spin a little bit earlier in this race, and that's what almost put him 1 lap down.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be interesting here to see how hard does Michael fight, and how hard do these guys push, knowing that still got quite a few laps left, and especially with Jeff, knowing that he doesn't have any tires to put on this race car. So I think he wants to get out there and control the pace, but I feel like Jeff right now is driving harder than he has on previous runs, which could be a negative for him later on when we get closer to the end.
Yeah, I mean, it might be more of a sadistic viewpoint here, but Jeff Ward has effectively used up all his tires in the race, so for right now, it kind of doesn't matter how hard he runs Michael Krobach or his own tires. This is it. I mean, he basically has to hope that he gets around Michael Krobach to at least win this race. That's the most he can do. He is going to get a nose around the outside of the 72 car. We'll see just how far down the track the 72 can go to try and shortcut that corner. Just barely able to pull back up in front of the 9 car and hold on to the lead, because realistically, Kenny, if a caution comes out, Krobach has another set of tires. Jeff Ward does not. So if we get another caution, Krobach basically has got this win in the bag, or at least Jeff Ward has basically no opportunity if we get another caution.
Yeah, and the one thing, assuming that we go green, I'm not sure that Jeff Ward wants to pass Michael Krobach. Obviously, even if he goes on and wins this race by just one position, he's still going to lose the championship. So I think right now, more than anything, he's wanting to scare Michael Krobach, potentially get Michael to do something out of his comfort zone that may just take him out of contention, cause him to get loose, have contact with the outside wall, something just to make Michael fall back further through the field.
Yeah, or just have one driver wreck the other, kind of Senna versus Prost style, to harken it back to the late 80s, early 90s of Formula One racing. We continue to ride on board here with Michael Krobach. He's in the 9 car of Jeff Ward, now getting a run down his inside. He's going to have the inside here in turns 1 and 2. Still has the momentum. Takes a lot shallower of an entry there to Michael Krobach. I think Krobach's going to go ahead and give him the lead for right now, but he's going to try the over-under. Let's see what he does. A lot of momentum down the backstretch. He's going to push him.
And I think really Jeff just wants to be able to control the pace of this race. He feels most comfortable out front. He's spent the most time out there. Now he can just focus on just running these consistent, smooth laps that he's been doing all evening long. And we'll have to see, though, if he tries to really extend the gap. Ooh, he actually goes high in 3 and 4 that time, not wrapping the bottom like he has been doing.
Well, I think basically he just realizes that the 72 car is that close to him, and he needs to make sure he drives his car as hard as possible. And we've only got 35 laps left in this race. It's pretty difficult to pass when you're on relatively equal tires. So Jeff Ward wants to A, make sure he's got a decent lead, or B, just makes the 72 car kind of run a little harder, run with him.
Still keeping an eye on lap times, and last time by, Rasmus was actually the fastest car on the racetrack, just by a little bit, about 2/100ths faster than Ward, and not quite a tenth faster than Krobach. So I'm still going to keep an eye on him. He is over 3 seconds behind the leaders, which is a pretty large gap to make up in 30-some laps, but I wouldn't be surprised if he makes up that time. Still has a clean race car, and kind of running the middle line right now is Rasmus.
Yeah, he's just really having a solid, consistent go of it. Currently in the 3rd position. Currently right now 4th position, just behind Rasmus, in fact, is the number 8 car of Mark Cohn. Mark really only 1 lap down due to the fact he tried that alternate pit strategy, pitting a little bit earlier, and he was the 2nd car on that strategy. Even though he did it a little bit before Jeff Ward, he hadn't made up all the time in order to pass Ward back, and that's why you saw Jeff Ward get the lucky dog there. Mark Cohn didn't take the wave around. Or if he did, he's only got one of his 2 laps back.
Yeah, good run for Mark. He has only 1 top 5 in this season, so will be good for him to. He pretty much has a top 5 locked up tonight, so will be good for him to kind of finish this one off. Kyle Brooks, 2 laps down. He's still out there in the 5th place.
Yeah, good to have Gael back with us, JR.
Yeah, absolutely. Stepped away through at least the middle portion of this season, but he's a driver that's had some pretty good runs throughout the races he has attended. So yeah, definitely good to have him back. Looking forward to having him back more into next season with the trucks and the Gen 4 car. But yeah, like I spoke about a little bit earlier, he has had some good runs. He's had a top 5 this season, so definitely the more that he runs in the PGRL series, the better he is progressing and getting to be where he can challenge for those top 5s and top 10s on a weekly basis.
Yeah, I believe last week was his only race, which was at Michigan, and actually, so he's 1 for 1 on the top 5s. But we better stop talking about him because he almost lost off of turn 4, so let's change the camera.
Yeah, I was just going to say, back up towards the leader, Jeff Ward. He's got a 7/10 of a second advantage right now over Michael Krobach. That 9 car continuing to do everything he needs to win the championship, but still for right now, looks like it might just not be enough. He's still got Michael Krobach in his rearview mirror, and just as soon as I talk about that 7 or 8/10 lead, Krobach cutting it down to about 6 or 7/10 or so.
Yeah, I mean, definitely at this point, even if Krobach were to have something, catastrophic happen, some type of crash, he's only going to fall back to, it looks like, the 5th position. That's where Gail Brooks is currently running. So, no matter what, the most he's going to lose on Jeff as far as finishing positions is 4 points, and I think that that's, going to be enough for him to lock up this championship. So, now that he knows that, he's definitely going to challenge Jeff Ward for this win. He's going to push hard. Jeff's clearly had the pace throughout most of this race, but if Michael can find anything, he's going to go up there and try to win this race, knowing that he's already got that championship. He wants to go get this win.
Yeah, and I think, to be fair, Krobach, as long as he finishes no worse than about 7th position or so, he should clinch the title with the amount of points he's gotten so far. If Jeff Ward were to get maximum points on today, for right now, Michael Krobach finishing in the 5th spot, it's going to put him 2 points ahead of Jeff Ward. And guys, Mike Rasmus is looking, he's a bit on the edge of control right here. He continues to get really loose, almost losing the car, especially in turns 3 and 4 that last time by.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, this is where your tires are really going to be suffering. You're not going to have much grip, and you can see the transition off of turn 2 there. You kind of rise up the banking and then back down as the banking drops completely off onto the backstretch. That does upset the car because the car gets really light and then comes back down the end of the track. It does tend to kick that rear end out on corner exit, and you can see off of turn 4 he's having to get extremely close to the outside wall just to keep that car straight.
As the racing this season continues to die down, just a reminder that we're going to be on a bit of a break the next 2 weeks from Tuesdays. Next season will kick off on September 5th. So we'll be back here live at 8:50 p.m. Eastern Time, September 5th, to start out Season 6 of the Pretty Good Racing League. And just a reminder, 2 shorter races per night, alternating between the Gen 4 Cup car and the current Truck Series trucks. Should be a pretty interesting season, and again, that's going to go all the way from Labor Day weekend to Memorial Day weekend. So now we'll kind of have a big summer break, which I think is a really positive thing for this league to have.
Yeah, for sure it is. I mean, usually for any league, that's a big thing, to be able to try to cut out some of the races during the summer. That's when you're going to lose some participation, just because everybody's got so much going on during the summer months. So definitely leagues suffered during that time, and this is definitely one of those moves to try to keep this league healthy and moving forward.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see the Gen 4 cars, and they're like the ARCA cars, same bodies, but they're basically straight up what the Cup cars were at that time. So instead of having 650 horsepower like the ARCA cars, they're up to 725. That also leads to about 1,000 more RPMs before you start redlining those things. And but they also weigh 100 pounds more at 3,400 pounds. So they're big, they're powerful, they're mean, they're kind of clunky, but they're a heck of a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing them out on track.
Oh yeah, my favorite car on the iRacing platform. I think that it's going to be a lot of fun. And then on the opposite side of that, you have the big burly trucks that are going to be kind of, laboring around all the tracks we're going to go to, and those certainly do put on a great show, just like in real life. As you see, Michael Krobach is now caught right up to the back end of Jeff Ward, really looking to go around the outside, and was looking easy for a second until Krobach got loose there off the corner.
Yeah, Jeff's starting to struggle like we saw during that last run. We're about at the same lap count as we were before. You can see him getting loose, the car bobbling over the bumps, entering turn one. That allows Michael Krobach to get to his inside. But Jeff Ward, even though he's struggling, he is going to race Michael hard because he still wants to get the last win of the season. Krobach gets a little bit loose through 3 and 4, does a very nice job of saving it. We see Ward getting loose as well. These two drivers are pushing very hard because they desperately want to win the last race of this season to close it out in this next gen car.
I was surprised for as far sideways as Krobach was. He saved the car, and then Jeff Ward goes and gets even more sideways off the corner and brings that number 9 car back under control. So if these cars aren't a handful, I don't know what is.
Yeah, and you know, at some point they're going to have to back it back down because as you get sideways, the more you get sideways, the more that tire temp goes up and it begins to feel just like you're racing on oil or even ice out there. It'll get progressively worse lap after lap, and eventually you won't be able to hang on to it. So these drivers will have to back down what they're doing just a little bit in order to maintain control.
Krobach again looking down to the inside, and JR, it's going to be almost impossible for Krobach to pass if he can't get to the outside of Jeff Ward, just with how worn out their tires are.
Yeah, exactly right. When your tires get wore out, the outside line does become the favorite line to run just because you're having to put less steering input into it. You can maintain the throttle control a little bit better, and you're not having to worry about keeping that wheel turned so hard to the left on corner exit. That's the biggest key. You can make up a lot of time on the bottom through entry and center, but it's the corner exit where you really struggle on the bottom on old tires. So definitely Krobach's going to have to try to find a way to get to the outside, and he's trying it. He keeps going higher and higher, but he's getting into that slick stuff. You actually see him almost do a 4-wheel slide entering turn 3 there.
Oh, he did a huge bobble there off of turn number 4. That lost him a lot of time. And just as these two drivers are starting to race each other, Mike Rasmus has gained just about an entire second over the last 4 or 5 laps to these two. So I'm not too surprised if old Mr. Consistency has really been treating his tires extremely nicely. As you see the 72 car now side by side with the number 9 as soon as we switch the camera back over.
Yeah, these two drivers continuing to go at it, and yeah, like you said, Rasmus is closing in. He hopes that this continues to happen because the one thing that Mike is really good at, Mike Rasmus, is that he will only drive the car to the limit. He does not typically step over that limit, so that's very good at maintaining your tires throughout a long run. Normally we would see Michael Krobach doing a very similar thing, but tonight he just wants to win this race to close out the season, and he's pushing hard right now. Both of these drivers are sideways each and every lap.
Yeah, he's quite a bit faster right now than Jeff Ward. He's got about 11 laps left in the race to make this pass, so he's going to have to do something pretty soon here, but Jeff Ward just continues to do everything he needs to try and prevent Krobach here from getting to win. He still might win the war, but he might not win this battle.
Yeah, it's going to continue to be tight, and you know, Krobach's had to back off a little bit the last couple of laps. Probably got those tires really hot to a point that he's not comfortable continuing to push the car. He's going to let those tire temps come back down a little bit, and then you'll see him make another charge here, and it looks like he's going to do it a little bit quicker than what I expected. He's already trying to get back to the back bumper of Jeff Ward. And the thing is, Jeff Ward, we've seen him loose on corner entry. If Krobach can continue to be right on Jeff Ward's rear end, entering the corners, that can make that condition worse and worse. And eventually Jeff Ward's going to bobble enough that we're going to see what we're seeing here. Michael Krobach be able to get to the inside. It's not going to work this time, but if he continues to do that, he'll eventually have an advantage over Jeff.
Yeah, and folks at home, next time we go to more of a wider angle, look for that black dot on the upper right-hand part of the screen. That is the number 68 car of Mike Rasmus. He continues to get closer and closer as both of our front runners have started to wear out their tires more and more as the race has gone on. So far, guys, I think Krobach's faster. I just think it's really hard to pass.
Yeah, it's going to be hard, and you know, like I said, you can make up a lot of time like we're seeing Krobach do on corner entry and through the center by running that bottom, but you just can't get the drive off the corner like you need to at least be alongside that other driver down the straightaway. That's what you need to do. You need to at least come off the corner beside that driver in order to have a chance into the next set of corners. And you're just not able to do that with the way that your grip level is. More than anything, your front tires are starting to lose grip. You're pushing a little bit going into the corner, and then you're definitely losing rear grip off the corner, losing that forward drive.
Yeah, and you talk about needing to be side by side with the driver next to you. Preferably, you have momentum as well coming off the corner, because that guy up top, he is more than likely going to just clear you flat out down the straightaway because of the momentum the high side provides.
Yeah, exactly right, especially through turns 3 and 4. It's not as big of a deal through 1 and 2, but 3 and 4 is a long sweeping corner, and it leads to that long curved front straightaway. So definitely, if you can run that high line, get back into the throttle just inches before the guy on the bottom does, it is a big advantage down that front straightaway.
Mike Rasmus continues to eat into the lead that these two front runners have. 5 laps to go last time by, 4 to go now, this time at the stripe. Jeff Ward currently trying to do everything he can to win the championship and the race, but came into tonight with a 14-point deficit. Michael Krobach 14 points above Jeff Ward, trying to make sure he just keeps that 9 car in his windshield. He's done everything he's needed to so far tonight to just hold on to that championship point lead.
Honestly, watching these two drivers battle it out, I was thinking it was going to come down to who makes a mistake and who makes the more severe mistake with how much they were sliding around. But now Krobach, I think, has kind of used up his stuff, kind of overheated his tires, trying to make that pass for second. And if he doesn't play his cards right, he might actually get caught by Rasmus before he's able to get back up to Ward. And with only 2 laps to go, pending any mistakes from Ward, I don't think he's going to catch him anyway.
Now, Jeff Ward right now just needs to nurse his car around. He only has to make another 8 more corners. 6 by now. He's going to see the white flag this next time by, and he continues to pull out away from that Krobach machine. So I think Krobach was faster for a while. I think he just burned up his stuff. So white flag in the air this time by for Jeff Ward, looking for a win here at Iowa Speedway, trying to go back-to-back and back-to-back weeks. He won at Michigan International Speedway, trying to take the checkered flag here at Iowa. Behind him, the driver of the number 72 car, Michael Krobach, came into this night with the points championship lead. He's going to leave here with the points championship battle. The win for the battle going to go to Jeff Ward. The win for the war going to go to Michael Krobach. Checkered flag here for Jeff Ward at Iowa Speedway. Michael Krobach in second. You saw Mike Rasmus there slideways across the start-finish line. He'll come home to round out the podium positions. We're going to let Krobach and Jeff Ward celebrate. We're going to let iRacing timing and scoring do its thing and catch its breath. We're going to come back in about a minute and a half to talk to these drivers, go through the finishing positions of the field, and wrap up the show. Don't go anywhere.
This is the world's premier online racing simulation. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat from your home computer with the most realistic online motorsports experience you'll find anywhere. Race virtually in the world's biggest events with officially licensed series, cars, and tracks. From the high banks of Daytona to the blistering speeds of Indianapolis, the dirt of Eldora to the world's most legendary road courses. It's all here, and with more than 180,000 people just like you already driving, you'll always have someone to race. Ready to get behind the wheel? Sign up at iRacing.com to get started.
Welcomes you to the Chuckles. I'm in danger. 250 can possibly go to the outside. He does go to the outside of Ricky Harden. Tries a slide draft him. Harden goes up the track. Now back down to the bottom. Gets a huge push from Tommy Ryan at the start finish. It's going to be Thomas George.
Running the high line, trying to make that
got
pass.
loose off turn 4.
In the grass goes the 6 car, and they were side by side, 2 by 2 here.
Still Scott Eckman winning the last race of the season and the championship.
Jeff Ward definitely getting the championship for season 2.
Give it up for Thomas George, winning the race and the championship. George George overshoots the corner. Scott puts that car just where he needs to on the middle. It's going to be a drag race through the kink. Welcome back to the Corn State. We're here at Iowa Speedway for the Mars Properties Vacation Rentals 175 from Iowa Speedway. Mars Properties offers out-of-this-world pricing on fully furnished vacation rental homes close to the ocean in New Bern, North Carolina. For more information, email marsproperties@gmail.com. We're going to wait a little bit to talk about who won the points championship because there seems to be a problem with our variables for doing our math, so we're going to continue to wait until everything is officially official. But what I can tell you for sure, is Jeff Ward has won tonight's race at Iowa. He comes home in the first position after leading the most laps. He should have scored the maximum amount of points. He did everything he needed to do to win the race and give himself a fighting chance at the championship win. Michael Krobach comes home in the second position, followed by Mr. Consistency, Mike Rasmus, to round out the podium. Mark Cohn's going to come home, the first car one lap down in the fourth position, followed by Gael Brooks, who rounds out the top five. Scott Eckridge, after a vicious wreck in turn two, putting the car into the outside wall. He'll come home in the sixth spot. Brian Yazik comes home in seventh. He and Woody Mahan met the wall in the outside of turn number 4. Woody Mahan comes home in the 8th position. Rounding out the 10-car field is Zach Olson and Brian Greenlee in the 10th position. Go ahead and talk to tonight's big winner here. Jeff Ward, we know for sure you've won the race, but we don't know if you've won the championship. First off, talk me through the preparation to come into Iowa instead of Indianapolis.
Man, I tell you what, I found out about a couple days after the last race we was going to Iowa. And this one, you know, I don't like Richmond, but I love Iowa, so it's kind of weird because they're similar. But I got in here at 7:30 on the dot, practiced my tail off, man, and I was just telling Mike, it's as hardest you ever see me drive. I tried to go out there and get every single point I could, and it kept me honest there at the end. I was, you know, gave it everything I had. I was loose as hell trying to get back in the gas, and I guess the tires just equaled out. I don't know, but with them trying to battle with us, but was able to come out on the front there and did everything we could. And Mike told me that we were tied in points, and the tiebreaker goes to me for most wins. Now, I'm not 100% sure, but if we was able to squeak that out and get that championship, man, that's unbelievable because I didn't think we had a prayer coming into this one. So, yeah, I'm excited, man. It's awesome.
I'll tell you what, dude, we did not think you did either. 14 points is a lot to overcome, especially in a 10-car field. So we'll see what happens here once we see if Mike Krobach announces how things are going. Second question, though, what's your outlook towards the next season? You know, you no longer have to start at the back for the next 2 seasons. We're going to have actual qualifying as we now shift to season 6. It's going to be a long one. There's actually a chase, and it looks like you guys are going to be in the ARCA cars and the trucks. And I'll let you answer that first.
Yes, nice. That's what we do this for, is get championships. So that's great, man. Yeah, next season, I'm still trying to take this one in at the moment. We got it's gonna be a cool change of pace. You know, we kind of got in this routine of running this car every week, and from what I hear, it's gonna be a mix-up, like you said, of trucks and ARCA, but it's gonna be like a double race on each night or something like that. So I kind of missed the announcement, but that'll be pretty cool. There's a lot of guys that really like the trucks, and I got a buddy coming in that's pretty raw that we're going to get in there and start practicing, so I'm looking forward to trying to get him up to speed and running with him. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully we can go out there and repeat what we did this season, get a couple wins, and maybe run for a championship again.
Yeah, for sure. Jeff. Before I let you go, the floor is yours, man. Please, as always, plug the dealio you've got coming out with your music.
Yeah, first, man, before I get to that, I got to give a huge shout out to Michael Krobach. This season, some of the battles we've had is some of the best sim racing I've ever been a part of. Just clean, hard-nosed racing, keeping each other honest, week in and week out. So big shout out to him. I thought he had this thing in the bag. He's got to probably be a little disappointed, but that's racing, and we raced all the way down on the wire, and it's awesome. What an awesome season. So we got a new album. Finally got a release date for it. It's August 25th. You can go on my Facebook there and pre-save it, Spotify, and all that good stuff. And so exciting times, man. Got a championship, got an album coming out, so head's kind of spinning around right now. But man, this is cool.
Well, Jeff, I just want to say congratulations one more time. First on the win, second on the championship, and third on that album coming out. Can't wait for it. So excited, and just a big congratulations, buddy.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Appreciate you guys doing this all season, and I do want to give a shout out to Lexington Brewing and Distilling and everybody at PGRL behind the scenes, and everybody that just kept showing up every week, and hopefully they'll be back for the next season.
Yeah, certainly. Ladies and gentlemen, that was another two-time champion of the Pretty Good Racing League, Jeff Ward from Loud Pedal Motorsports. Once again, we'd like to thank Jeff for taking the time to come up to talk to us. And Kenny, I believe you caught up with Michael Krobach. If we get him up here into the booth.
Thanks for coming out.
Yep. I have caught up with Michael Krobach, and Michael, man, that was close. But if there's anybody that knows how to throw away wins, it's you, my friend, and you did a big one tonight.
See, Kenny, we're aiming to recruit drivers for next season, so the co-owner of the league winning the championship is not a real good look, so we have to find a way to make it look good. So we just kind of ran into Scott there earlier and gave him back a spot there with the stage, and I guess that, be a nice cost me there, and that 1 point for the stage was enough for old Jeff to tie.
Yeah, up in the booth, we failed to realize that, the bonus for winning the race for Jeff was 5 instead of 3 points. So the battle at the end was way more significant than just for a race win. So you probably knew that. And so just take me through what your game plan was with that one-on-one battle, what that was like. Obviously, you guys were on edge all night long, and it got worse and worse as you got closer to the end. Just take me into the driver's seat for that battle.
Yeah, I ran the numbers like 5 times in my head that run, and every time I was coming up tied with Jeff breaking the tie, so I knew that win was real important, and I think we were better than him long run. When he pitted there under green with about 60 to go, I think that was too early, and so I wanted to get by Scott and get at least a bonus point for leading a lap, and trapping Jeff a lap down kind of worked out there, and he ran out of tires, so he didn't have any tires left in the pits if we had another caution. But unfortunately, we didn't have really many cars left at the end of the race running, so he got away with kind of running out of tires. I tried to hold him off as long as I could and dump air on him and make him burn up his stuff, figuring I'd maybe be able to get him back at the end of the run, but he just got a real good run one time, and I couldn't fight that off. And I knew I had to get him at the end, and I tried everything I could, but every time he'd cross my nose, and the wake would just dump air on me, and I'd slide the tires and kill them again, and have to regroup and try again and try again and try again. But we never gave up. Tried to put on a good show for the fans, and tried to make Jeff earn it, and Jeff earned it fair and square. So congrats to a well-deserved champion.
Yeah, it was. It only takes 2 cars to have a race, and so you guys proved that one tonight with a nice, exciting battle. But looking forward to next season now. Lots of changes. Different tracks, different format, different cars. Is there one thing in particular that you're looking forward to the most as a driver? Not necessarily on the admin side, but as a driver. What are you looking forward to the most?
I think it'll be a whole lot of fun to run the Gen 4 cars at some of the big old worn-out tracks, Auto Club. I'm not sure where else we're running them, to be honest, but any tracks where there's some tire fall off, it gets up to like 2 or 3 seconds a lap at some places, so running that thing sliding around, I love a loose car, and I think it'll put on some pretty good racing, and hopefully the mix of Gen 4 trucks, the twin races that we'll have every week will attract some interest and bring out some more drivers for Season 6. So we'll advertise that soon and get sign-ups open again if you want to join us for Season 6. But yeah, just I think I'm looking forward to the variety. Not doing the same car week in and week out. Taking the cars to new tracks. I think we got like trucks planned for Lime Rock, which will be fun. And just kind of shaking it up. Looking forward to also being able to take a summer break next year. So we're running from Labor Day this year to Memorial Day next year. So it'll be nice to have something to do in the off season when there's not racing on TV, and then travel next summer.
So even though you came up short on the championship, you still had a phenomenal season with 10 top fives in 12 races. Who do you have to thank for honestly an incredible season?
I got to thank our point system for kind of screwing me out of a championship. That was my bad for co-designing that. I got to thank everybody who showed up here. I know our car count dropped off at the end of the year, but having a consistent group of guys show up makes this thing fun. And all of you for putting on a great broadcast. And just looking forward to what next season brings. And good win, Jeff. Good win, Jeff.
Yes, yeah, great job by Jeff. Great job by you as well. And we'll catch you in the next one, buddy.
Thanks, Kenny.
Was second place Michael Krobach, second place in the race and the championship, and I believe JR is caught up with our third place driver Mike Rasmus.
Indeed I have. Hey Mike, congratulations man on a third place run to close out the season here. I want to go right to the end of this race. We saw in those last 20 laps how you were slowly cutting into that lead, especially as Jeff Ward and Michael Krobach were racing each other pretty hard. How excited were you to see that, and did you think you had a shot to catch them before the end there?
I was hoping I would at least catch them, and I sort of did at the end. I spun out coming to the line, which was kind of funny, but I knew if I had pushed any harder than I was going to burn the tires off, but I was doing it anyway because it was the end of the race. So yeah, it was kind of fun. I didn't have any more speed than that, really. I couldn't figure out how to drive this car for the life of me tonight, so I didn't have any practice either, so I kind of just was trying my best. I was trying to save the tires and keep it under me. I actually spun out under green too, so I didn't do a great job of anything tonight. But I had a good time. I was really hoping to catch up to them, but it's their race for the championship and all that too. So I wasn't gonna really get involved unless they wrecked each other, which they did not. So yeah, that's about it for me.
I absolutely understand, but even with the struggles that you had tonight, you came away with another very consistent finish. Looks like you're going to finish 6th place in points. You are the highest finishing driver that did not have 10 total weeks counting. So that's very impressive in itself. And out of those 8 weeks, you had 7 top 5. So once again, being extremely consistent. Having said that, I want to ask you about the changes next season, running the trucks in the Gen 4. Is that looking like something that may favor you as well?
That'll be interesting. I really like both of those vehicles, and I'm really excited about the Gen 4. I haven't raced a league with that car, and I don't have that much experience with it, but when I was trying it before, I was having a really fun time with it. And I haven't run the truck in a long time either. I used to run the truck all the time. So I don't really know what to expect for myself, but I'm really hoping to. I'm hoping the trucks will let everyone, stay a little closer to each other and hopefully have a little bit more fun racing side by side and stuff like that. And Gen 4, I don't know. I'd like to come out with a win in that car at some point. That's one of my goals. I'd like to get a win, this year or whenever I can, pretty soon. So that'd be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that win's just around the corner, especially with the vehicles that we're going to be going to next season for Season 6. Again, Mike, a fantastic season, even though you weren't able to run all of the races, still finishing 6th place in points for the last race of this season. Before we let you go, who do you want to thank for tonight's run, but also your entire season?
I just want to thank Krobach for putting on a great league. He's got some good ideas, and he's just a great guy and great person to be racing with. And just want to say congrats to Jeff. He did amazing. They're such great drivers, and I learn from them every time I race with them. So hopefully I'll keep getting better and I can race closer with them next season.
Absolutely, man. Hey, we look forward to seeing you next season and the excitement that is going to be brought into this league with the changes, with the shakeup that is happening starting in September. So, again, Mike, congratulations on that third place run. Look forward to seeing you in the future.
Thanks, bud.
All right, guys, that was our third place finisher, Mike Rasmus. With that, I'm going to send it back up to Austin in the booth.
Yeah, thanks, JR. I'd like to, as always, thank all three of our podium drivers for taking the time to talk to us. I'd also like to thank Mars Properties. They offer out-of-this-world pricing on fully furnished vacation rental homes close to the ocean in New Bern, North Carolina. For more information, email Mars Properties. That's Mars with 2 S's at gmail.com. Guys, overall, I think Iowa really did a great job at showcasing the talent of the drivers in this league. It was hard to pass, it was hard to race on, and a lot of guys were slideways.
Yeah, absolutely. This is definitely one of the tracks that you would like to go to have a season-ending race, because it is a place where you can move around, you can try different lines. It does promote side-by-side racing, although it is not easy. But it is something that is an option for these drivers, and it is a handful. The driver does make a big difference here, so it was very cool to see them in the season here. Obviously, with the way the points shook up, us kind of missing that the win actually counted for the 5 additional points. That's what threw us off with Jeff Ward coming away with that championship. The thing that ended up hurting Michael Krobach a little bit was that we didn't have much of a field in here. We thought that was going to hurt Jeff Ward, but it ended up hurting Michael Krobach a little bit. So definitely, when you have a season-ending race, you want to have a few more drivers in the league in that race, and that's what I think the changes leading in the next season are going to help to promote.
Yeah, and speaking of those changes, that is going to be the huge story going into next season. I mean, it's going to be a completely different look to PGRL with the different cars, different tracks, different race format, different season length. I'm really excited to see, who comes out on top, who comes out strong, who ends up struggling. But then going back to tonight's race, yeah, speaking of struggling, it was really fun to watch how uncomfortable these cars were to drive and how much the drivers were dancing around there at the end. That one-on-one battle for the championship and the race win was a battle for the ages.
Certainly was. We'll be back live 3 weeks from now, Tuesday, September 5th, as the PGRL Premier Series takes on Daytona International Speedway. As always, that stream will go live at 8:50 p.m. Eastern Time. And, of course, this Friday, you can't miss it, at least you shouldn't. The BRL Super Late Model Series takes on Southern National Speedway. As always, that stream will go live this Friday at 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Should be a great race. This has been a pretty good production of the Virtual Grip Network. Big congratulations for Jeff Ward on both the win and the championship for season number 5. On behalf of myself, Austin Belke, my booth mates J.R. Shepard and Kenny Kibbe, along with our director Ryan Seneker, thank you so much for watching, and have a good night.